Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. This is Dan, and this is the Napkin Academy. And today I am super excited because today we're going to our very, very first Draw Together session. Now, what these Draw Togethers are about is those of you who've been with me for a little while know that the Napkin Academy is all about me drawing pictures live. Well, guess what? Draw Together means that there's going to be two of us. Think about carpool karaoke meets Pictionary. So I am super duper excited by being able to invite Austin Kleon to join us for this first of the Draw Togethers.
What up?
Is that Austin?
Yep.
There he is. What do you know, man? How are you?
Good, how are you?
Excellent. There you are. Hey, good morning, Austin.
Good morning.
Well, I will try. I'm going to try to thank you a lot for being willing to do this one more time. And let me make a quick introduction. Austin has been a friend of mine for several years, and we've had a chance to hit it off. And so let's just think for a moment, who is this character, Austin Kleon? I found a really nice quote online that was someone who was reviewing one of Austin's books, and they said, artist and poet, and they weren't wrong about that, Austin Kleon writes in an accessible, breezy, and conversational shorthand. Few of his sentences run longer than 8 words, and his message is simple. Learn all you can, develop a library of influences, and never stop believing in your own creativity. His best advice to artists, get out of and stay out of your own way, recurs throughout his books. So, what books are we talking about? Most importantly, probably, book Steal Like an Artist was, I think, Austin's first big breakout success. It's now available in multiple languages. Well, Austin, you pulled out, what language was it that you pulled out a copy of Steal Like an Artist, and it was really a beautiful edition? Do you remember?
Russian. Russian edition.
The Russian.
Yeah. Everything's going to work out great for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here we go. Time to polish off those Russian translations. So, Austin, since then, you've had a couple of other books come out. So tell us a little bit about these. What are we looking at here?
The one on the left there is Show Your Work, and that's the sequel to Steal Like an Artist. It's if Steal Like an Artist is about stealing influences from other people, then Show Your Work is about influencing others by letting them steal from you. It's kind of a book about self-promotion for people who hate the very idea of self-promotion. So it's all about how to share your work in this kind of new, crazy digital age that we're in. And then the one next to it is it's kind of a expansion of both books because it has material related to both Steal Like an Artist and Show Your Work. That's the Steal Like an Artist journal. Keeping a daily notebook is kind of the heart of my practice. And so I wanted to make a notebook that would help other people get into a kind of daily notebook habit. And so that's what the journal is about. And then that image on the right, it's funny. Last time we did this, I was looking for the book and I still can't find it. But my first book that came out in 2010 was a book called Newspaper Blackout. And what it is I probably have one over here. I take a copy of the New York Times pretty much every day, and I find an article I like, and then what I do is I circle a few words that I like, and then I black out the rest, and I make these little pieces, and they kind of look like if the CIA did haiku. And so that,
and I've seen some of those.
And under a big stack of them, here is the first book, Newspaper Blackout, and I always get excited when somebody has this book because nobody buys poetry books, so it's exciting to see one out in the world.
Well, and they're good poetry books. I love reading these. Do you publish your Newspaper Blackouts on any kind of regular basis? Is there a blog or something that we should look at if we want to see these more often?
Yeah, the best place is to go on my Twitter, which is just my name, Austin Kleon, or my Instagram, which is the same, and that's Austin Kleon too. Just at Austin Kleon, all one word. And then I also put out a weekly newsletter that I really have a lot of fun with. And those things usually pop up there too. And I have a website too. So
very good. Just in terms of level setting, what's going to go on here today? So we're going to re-record Austin, but in order to keep it live and juicy, I've changed all the quotes. We're going to have to draw again. So even though you and I are practiced at this, it's still going to be just as spontaneous and fun as it was last time.
Cool.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed, Austin, about getting the chance to talk to you in the past as well is you're also a really, really good talker. And so it's this combination of putting together good words and being able to put them together with good pictures that makes you, in my mind, the perfect guest star for our first version of Draw Together. So now we're going to do our pivot into the official Draw Together part of this. So here are the rules. We're going to be drawing together, and there are some rules. So pretty simple. We're going to be starting with the topic, and what I've done, Austin doesn't know what these are, but I've picked 5 different quotes from Steal Like an Artist. So I'm going to ask Austin to just pick a number, and we'll see what that topic is. Then we will draw it together. Austin, being the guest star, will start the drawing. Each person gets to draw 3 lines, no more than 3, and you can get a little bit creative. If your line wants to zip around a little bit, you can do that. Or if you really need to write something down, you can write, but you can only write 3 letters, and then you have to pass the pen over to the other person. And in order to make it even more exciting, we're going to go ahead and talk as we draw. So Austin, are you ready to do some Draw Together?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, so here's the way we're going to do this. I have gone through and picked a series of quotes, and I've hidden them behind the secret doors. And so please, okay, Austin, pick any door that you like. Which door do you want to try?
I'm going to pick door number 4.
Door number 4. Let's click on door number 4. Ha! Ooh, okay. Austin, can you read us your quote, please?
Oh my goodness. Okay. The art of holding on to money is all about saying no to consumer culture.
All right. Now I picked this one because I thought this was different than a lot of the other messages in Steal Like an Artist, and very important because it goes back to some of the lifestyle pieces you're talking about. So let me kick in now our whiteboard. Let me make sure that we've got our camera going. Austin, we've got the whiteboard in front of us. Quote is, the art of holding on to money is all about saying no to consumer culture. Okay.
So, okay.
Back to whiteboard, back to screen. All right, Austin, we are ready to draw.
Okay, so that quote to me is about my grandfather had a saying, and he said, it's not what money you make, it's what money that you hold on to. And there are a few things in Steal Like an Artist and Show Your Work that came directly from like family members and stuff from mine. You know, one of the things I love about Dan's books, I think one of the things I've heard Dan say before is if you don't know what to draw, just draw a circle first to represent the thing that you're talking about. I'm going to turn this into some money. Let me see here. I'm going to cheat and I'm going to do, oh my goodness. You never know how these drawings are going to turn out. Okay, here's my second line.
Wow. Okay, that's a heck of a line.
That is a heck of a line. And then, you know what? I'm just going to make a little.
Oh, I'm jumping at the chance to start adding on to this drawing.
Okay, I'm going to let Dan add to this.
All right, so here's what I think's going on, or at least this is my interpretation. I'm going to add my little bits. So number 1 line, number 2, yes. Okay, and now I'm going to do number 3 line is going to look like this. See if that makes any sense to you.
I like it. Yep. Okay. We're on the same page here. Okay, so then we go. I'm going to draw I'm going to do a cheat.
Yeah.
And
I like the way you push the 1 line. You're really. I like this. This is good.
Well,
you can make 1 line do a lot of stuff, can't you?
If you've been to art school, which I have not, but if you've been to art school, there is a thing called a contour line drawing, and the exercise is to draw something without lifting your pen. So
we're going to have to let other potential guest stars on Draw Together know that that's a secret. Just draw a contour line and you can take over the screen for the whole time. All right, well, let's go back to our pictures. So I like where this is going so far.
So I'm going to, I like that I drew this person's body as like a triangle. They almost look like a monk or something.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
liking
and
the bald
this.
Is good too. So yeah, I'm with you. I totally see it.
I kind of like this. So I'm thinking about this as like a billboard. And so now I'm deciding what to put on the billboard, and I really think the consumer, the culture that we're in right now wants to make you very uncomfortable with yourself and your situation, and and as someone who has worked in advertising, wants you to desire things that you don't necessarily need. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to think of what to put on I think I'm just going to draw. I'm
really curious what it's going to be, because whatever it is, I'm going to riff off of it on the other side.
Maybe I'll draw a car. I don't know.
I knew it was going to be a car because I was going to say draw.
You know it's going to be a car.
I did.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the boxiest Ferrari I've
Well,
ever
what
seen.
you've
It must
done
look
is
like a
you've
scam.
drawn a Hummer, is what you've done. I really,
Right. Yeah. There
a
you go.
monk does not want a Hummer, and instead, okay, can I draw? I'm going to draw over here, and so
Yeah.
I'm not going the route of consumer culture, but I do need to go somewhere. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be my contour line here, and I'm not very well practiced at contour lines, clearly. Let's see if you can figure out what I've just drawn there. So I'm going an
That.
alternate route to my Hummer. I'm keeping my money by going a different route. That was one line. I think
Okay.
number two would be I'm going to put some saddlebags on my pony. And line number three is this is a fantasy pony. This is one that's actually going to cost me less than a Hummer, so it's a unicorn.
Oh, okay. It's a unicorn. I was
Yeah.
going to say, because as someone who knows people who have horses, that's actually one of the most expensive hobbies you could
Yeah, well, it's a
pick up.
unicorn, so I'm
Okay, so it's
foregoing the Hummer in
right.
exchange for my free unicorn as my mode of transportation.
I think that maybe there need to be more boxes because, oh goodness, I keep thinking about that. I'm sure you've had this experience, Dan, where you write things in books and then you forget that they exist there.
Yes.
People always laugh at me when I say that. I say, no, no. When I write a book, I'm trying to figure something out for myself, and then for other people, I'm letting people follow along as I figure something out. And sometimes when I figure something out, then it sits there and I don't think about it anymore. And so to have these lines from the books resurrected is interesting, in my mind anyway. And one of the things that I think is interesting is that um, I always feel like creative freedom comes from financial freedom. That if you, as a business person or as a creative person, want to have a little bit more freedom in your work, one of the ways you can do that is by paying very close attention to your finances and putting yourself in a really good position. And
Uh-huh.
actually, I was just there's a really great article in the New Yorker this week by Gary Steingart, and he talks about his luxury watch obsession. And one of the things he talks about though in the piece is how he keeps I think he keeps a 2-year savings. So in case the public decides they don't like Gary Steingart anymore, he always keeps that 2-year buffer. And he talks a little bit about his finances and then blowing money on these watches. And I'm always fascinated when artists talk about money. I'm actually speaking to some bankers next week, and I'm got the quote in my pocket of Oscar Wilde, who said, when artists get together, they talk about money.
It's
When
so true.
when bankers get together, they talk about art.
Any one of these is a quote we should be drawing out. Okay, I tell you
Yeah.
what,
Okay.
Austin,
Sorry. We're
let,
doing more
let's do
talking than
one more. Can
drawing.
we do one more?
Okay.
What I'm going to
Of
do is I'm
course.
going to scroll down here
Okay.
on the whiteboard because I think we got this one. I would rather
Yeah. I
have
think
my
we.
free unicorn and keep my money than
Yep.
have the consumer culture Hummer. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to take my blue pen. Come on, pen. Here we go. And draw out just a little frame so we know where to go. And for those of us who are standing by on the phone, you will get a chance to ask your questions because Austin and I are going to do this next one really quick. So Austin, here we go. We're going to go back to our doors, and I would like you to pick another door. Which door are you going to pick this time?
Oh, I'm gonna pick door number 2.
Door number 2. I thought you might pick door number 2. Okay, the quote goes like this. Ask anybody. Well, you read it. It's your words. You read the quote, Austin.
Oh, wow, yeah. Ask anybody doing really creative work and they'll tell you the truth. They don't know where the good stuff comes from. They just show up and do their thing every day.
All right. Okay, Austin, you get to start. What's it look like to just show up and do your thing every day?
I think it looks like a box.
Box, okay. Beautiful one-line box.
And
You're good at this.
one line box, and then I'm gonna draw a one line table. There we go.
I know what kind of a box you've just drawn.
And then
Okay,
I'm
you get one
going
more
to
line. Yep, padooty. Okay, now I'm going to take this a little bit different, and I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do my little box drawing with one line. Okay, that, by the way, my one line doesn't show up very well. That's the bed. Okay, so
Yep.
I'm snoozing here, dreaming of riches and success and wonderful creative things that I'm going to do. All right, those are my lines.
Okay. So people always use, lightning as the kind of inspiration
Mhm.
striking thing.
Light
So
bulbs.
I'm
People do a lot of light bulbs
light
too.
bulbs. They do a lot of light bulbs too. Okay, so you got the dreams here.
Hmm.
What if the dreams were the thing keeping us from having the inspiration? Like, what if the thinking about as I'm gonna draw, I love whatever pen tool I've found here that does this really nice chunky.
Are you drawing with your mouse still? Just point of order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna draw. So this person is dreaming of the inspiration.
Right.
And then I'm going to draw inspiration cloud. I'm going to cheat and I'm going to put it over this thing.
So, okay, my turn. I have a very simple line I'm going to draw.
Okay.
I think you can imagine what it is. Get your butt in there, get your butt in your seat,
Hmm.
and start hammering on the keys.
Yes. I like it. That was quick.
I think we did it. That's how you make
2 and 2 now.
creativity happen. Just show up and get to work. But Austin, do add
Just
a
show
couple
up.
of more thoughts about it because this is, I've got my own stories around this thought. That's why I'm the one who got to pick
Yeah.
the quotes because obviously I
Yeah.
picked the quotes from your book that meant the most to me. And this was probably the most important one. And I would say, I'm adding a line. I'm going to cheat now. We're on our last drawing. What the heck? This clock thing means a lot to me because it's about setting the alarm to get up
Yeah.
in the morning for me. Tell us a little bit more about what does this actually mean to you, showing up?
I think that anyone who wants to actually turn their creativity into a career, it's inspiration does strike, but you have to be there for it to strike. So one of my favorite profiles is Elizabeth Gilbert. Before she was Elizabeth Gilbert with Eat, Pray, Love, and that humongous success. She was actually a really good journalist, and there's a great profile from the 2000s, like 2002 or something, where she interviewed Tom Waits, and Tom Waits had talked about how he has to be in the studio to get his ideas, and she said, "Well, what happens when you're driving on the freeway and you have an idea?" And he says, "I look up the sky and I say, 'Can't you see I'm driving?'"
Okay.
But the point of that is that there is a place for work, and if you visit that place for work every day, inspiration will know where to find you. As now, I think there's a flip side to that, is that I think you have to be ready for inspiration to strike too, which means that's why I carry the notebook everywhere, and that's why I always have something to write with, something to draw with. But inspiration is one thing, the perspiration of actually making the work happen, that's where you have to show up every day, and you have to get through the days where the work isn't going well. That's when you have to write your 500 words of garbage in order to find the one sentence that you're going to keep for the next day, and that's I think is what it's, the discipline of creative work and not just the inspiration part.
I can't think of a better way to wrap this up because it's the same thing that we have. So we've got a couple of questions. I know that Jim had an interesting question. Jim, I'm going to turn your microphone on. Jim, can you hear me okay?
I can.
I know that you had a question for Austin.
Well, this question comes from page 39 of How to Steal Like an Artist, just, in case you're looking for the reference. And can you explain the difference between remixing and ripping off and how you know that you're actually remixing instead of ripping off? And that's the English language version, not the Russian version.
Right. So this is one of my favorite charts in the book, and this is kind of what we're talking about with this is a kind of honor amongst thieves. And what's interesting is, one man's ripoff can be another man's remix, and where does the line where is the line drawn? I think it's about transformation. I think, to me, a remix transforms the original in such a way that it is something new, that it really brings something new. And of course, that, again, that's a subjective call, whether you're in a courtroom or personally. But what I try to talk about in my work is the transformation, taking those things that you've stolen from and then weaving them into something new. And one of the ways I talk about that, or try to talk about that, is I try to get people to think about world, kind of the spectrum of creativity as it's almost like a big, I think it's Warren Ellis talks about it as like a gumbo pot. You take things out of the gumbo and then you kind of add your own part to it. But the real thing is that I think your work should be contributing something new to the world. And so that, to me, it's really about the transformation. Ezra Pound said, make it new. And I think that's really what it's about. And it's a very subjective thing. But I think those things that came before the ripoff and the remix, if I can find my own
Page
diagram
39.
again. Right. So I think what's interesting about this chart is I think these things actually lead to the things on the bottom. And so, a good remix actually honors the source material. A good remix is someone who is a real student of the material they've stolen from. A good remix steals from many different pieces of work, not just one. It credits the original source, it transforms, that kind of thing. And so I do think that chart could actually be reworked as this could be the endpoints for each chart. It's a good question.
Very cool. Thank you.
Actually, I'm giving a talk next week. I might use that. I might leave those bottom parts. Those would be the endpoints, what you get when you do all those things in the other column.
It's funny because
that.
I was just talking to my daughter this morning, who's getting ready to go to college next year, and she wants to get into film, and in particular, she loves music, so she wants to go into film scoring. So she just started an online course by Hans Zimmer.
You didn't tell me that part.
Yeah, it's what she really wants to do. No, same daughter, writing and sound. She's
is she listening to Song Exploder? Did she know that?
Song Exploder? Song Exploder.
Best podcast right now is called Song Exploder, and they just had a bunch of the Oscar nominees on, the composers, to talk about their work and how they did it.
Song Exploder.
I love it. You'll love Song Exploder.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone would love Song Exploder. That's one of my very favorite. And Song Exploder is very in line with my third book, Show Your Work, because the point of that book was when you share the process of what you do, it actually makes the product more interesting and accessible to people. And so there have been a lot of musicians that come on Song Exploder and explain how they've actually made their work. And I wouldn't have cared 2 cents about it before I heard them explain how they work, and then hearing the track, and then all of a sudden I'm a fan.
Wow, so I will look it up for sure.
Yeah, it's a really great podcast, and it has a lot of what I've written about kind of embedded in the podcast. Also, the musicians like to talk about their influences and what they've stolen from.
Do. So, well, this is the thing I was going to bring up. So my daughter's been doing this online course. It's a really high quality course by Hans Zimmer. It's part of a whole series of courses, and she's taken that one. And Hans Zimmer, who has composed the music for over 160 films, I realized this morning. There's a quote there for you. You may already have it. He steals from himself all the time. And Hans Zimmer is probably one of the greatest sources of stealing with riffing off that's not ripping off. Because if you look, one...
a Hans Zimmer track right away.
The opening chord. All right, so we're going to wrap this up in 2 minutes, but we've got Xavier standing by with one more question, and Xavier had, I think, one of the greatest questions ever. Let me get a whiteboard up here. And Xavier, you had a question for Austin. What was your question?
What do you steal today? An idea, inspiration, something you want to explore further?
What did you steal today, Austin?
What did I steal today? Oh my goodness. Well, the day's getting started for me. I think I stole. I think every day it's like I've stolen just breath. Honestly, every day I'm upright. It feels like I've stolen breath from someone. I mean, it's easy to feel that way this time of year in the spring. I feel like I've stolen breath. I think what have I stolen this morning? Inspiration. My son. I think a lot of young parents say this, and it's kind of a cliche, but my sons really, they exhaust me, they annihilate me, but they also inspire me. And my son is just doing these really wonderful, he's 4.5 and he's writing. So he's writing this really weird phonetic stuff that I have to decipher. And it just gives me all these ideas about what it makes me want to work. And so I steal inspiration from my son. It's a unique experience to watch a 4.5-year-old that doesn't necessarily know what they're doing, but they go back to their workspace my son doesn't go to daycare, so he has a spot in his room with all his junk that Dan's seen, and he just goes every day and gets back to work, and it's just really inspiring. So yeah, stealing breath and inspiration from my kiddos.
I think it's lovely. I couldn't add any more to that. Austin, I want to thank you again. We're going to wrap this up, especially everyone who stayed with us through all of this, our very first draw together. Austin, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you somewhere, somehow, stealing breath one more time.
We'll steal some breath in San Francisco.
Sounds good. Take care. Thanks, Austin.